I remember sticking nuggets on a fork with my left arm that kind of worked, and wedging them in the table and leaning over the table to eat them because you wouldn't help because you thought that shit was so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's funny looking back the things that you find amusing, I guess.
It is. Again, I think about what the fuck do I want to be when I grow up? I'm 53. I don't think I've done a ton of shit, but then we sit and talk, and I go, I've actually done quite a bit of shit. I sleep in my truck every night, and I like it. Participating in society in that particular vein, I don't have any desire to do it at all. Well, I need you need food, air, and water. You want every other fucking thing in your life, and that's a choice. And then again, the reminder that I was an average fucking team guy athlete. Like, it's fucking crazy.
You like to throw that in there.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
that's
I'm
shit.
proud of that. I'm proud of my average.
Yeah. Welcome to Mic Drop, the podcast where relevancy is irrelevant and we don't give a shit about your feelings.
And it was done, and it was correct.
Yeah.
And so I wore that fucking hat the rest of the time we worked together.
Yeah, I mean, even in Iraq, I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got pictures of us fucking standing there, you wearing that goddamn hat.
Mattis actually asked him about it.
Oh,
when
really?
we were doing that nav plan out of Iraq. Like, hey, what the fuck's the deal with your guy not being Van's like, he's my guy, don't fucking worry about him.
Yeah.
Like, and he did, to his credit, he's like, I told you all the way, I don't give a shit. And he did.
Yeah.
So
God, that's awesome. Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Wild shit. Our time in Iraq, does any story stand out as being memorable? Or I guess just any other time that we spent, whether it's the cold, fucking Iraq deployment? Van trying to volunteer us to go to that fucking little bridge on the north side, on outside of the green zone when we'd first gotten up there. So, we drove, putting together 4 unarmored Humvees with a trailer full of explosives to drive into country, a week behind the main force was interesting. That was just, there's something about that was very hippie. Yeah. Like, we're just following the dead, man. Yeah. It's just a group of us. I mean, it's almost like, you think of it, even a few years after that, it was unthinkable to do. I know. The kind of the way that we ragtagged it together. It was very almost like Band of Brothers, where it was totally fucking uncharted territory.
Hey, you're gonna go there, make your way there, make it happen.
Yeah, because I mean, it was an interesting time to be able to be there at the start of it, where there was still front lines, there was progress, there was ground that had been taken.
Like the old West idea, we're discovering it as we go.
Yeah, and once that was done, for the next fucking decade, that there was no more of that.
And it was just day after day of dreary bullshit. Yeah. So driving up there and then him wanting to volunteer us for that initial when we first got in, and me and Clint, like, hey. No. Yeah. Because I'd already done the map studies. I knew where we were trying to go. I knew where the Marines were trying to go because they were still trying to lock down Baghdad, looking to go to his hometown up to Tikrit where we ended up. And they wanted us as fucking 16 guys in unarmored vehicles to go secure a bridge across the river. And I'm like, no. Yeah. Just no. Yeah. I won't go do that because that's a suicide mission for us. It's just fucking dumb. And there was a lot of dissension on that particular decision. And interestingly, fast forward 4 days, they sent part of a Marine division up there, an armored Marine division, and they were in like a 47-minute gunfight. Yeah. That the only reason they managed to take the bridge was with A-10 support. Yeah, and they were all in APCs. And they were in APCs. I mean, there was pictures of fucking 19-year-old Marines fucking knee deep in 50 cal brass, just trying to not die. Yeah, and I'm like, we'd have been fucking solid going on that one. Yeah. Good call. None of us would have come home. Yeah, it is interesting the disparity, especially looking back on it now. I mean, I was fucking 22, right. But really not even having a grasp of what the fuck we were doing. I mean, really, like in the grand scheme of things, like looking back at it now, is like I had no fucking idea what we were doing, what I was doing. I don't think that I did either. I don't know. It probably push come to shove, nobody did because we hadn't been in combat for fucking 30 years. Yeah.
I just mean, even geopolitically, like the things that I pay attention to now versus back then are starkly different. But
I know for me, and I've heard this said on your podcast and on news interviews forever, and that's what it was for me. It didn't have a fucking thing to do with the grand picture. This is a group of guys I came over here with.
Yeah.
This is a group of guys I'm going home with.
Yeah.
That was always foremost in my position in the platoon. That was always foremost for me.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what you think we should do. If it looks to me like it's going to kill half of my guys, okay, maybe I'm not in charge, but trust me, they're going to follow me.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point in what I was starting to bring up is that I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that.
Yeah, probably.
That it's like there are instances where that happens. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's often. I would say most, especially nowadays, most platoons, most command structures, military-wide, there's very few instances where the guys will be like, we're not fucking doing that. Right. We're doing this instead. Or that, either have the ability or even the balls to fucking say, no, that's fucking dumb.
I think it's to our detriment as a society that indoctrinating structured rules and I grew up with, respect your elders, but even that at the way I was raised was to a point.
Yeah.
Because just because you're older doesn't mean you're good.
Yeah.
Just because you're in the military doesn't mean you're honorable.
Yeah.
Just because you're whatever doesn't mean you're the other thing that everybody seems to meme their way through life.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you get a free pass no matter what.
This means that, and it's not absolutely true. And I grew up in an era, the post-Vietnam era, where guys are like, shit's fucking stupid, and you need to call stupid when it's stupid, or the snowball effect of that is detrimental to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it was a neat thing to be a part of where, if you look at, say, the very first thing that we did, the Go Plat, which, there was some pretty hairy intelligence that shit was going to go fucking sideways, and we did it anyway.
Right.
I think at the height of the intel looking the worst, it was, there's over 100 enemy combatants on board. All of them are armed. The pipes are fucking
they'd watched
with
them.
explosives.
SDV had watched them offload workers and onload military and
there's a fuck ton of Republican guard guys. The pipes are laden with explosives, ready to blow as soon as we get on board, and we went and did it anyway. But then fast forward to later on in that deployment of kind of getting into the groove of taking intelligence, knowing what our capabilities are, knowing kind of what
and
the
being
enemy's
intelligent about how we apply our skill set.
And say like, hey, we're willing to go do dangerous shit, but shit that makes sense, that's worth doing.
And don't think for a second we're afraid to engage, but we're not stupid about it. Nobody here is suicidal.
Yeah, it's like, to do shit just for the sake of doing it.
To say I did it.
Is what somebody who's never been to war.
And it's horribly misled.
Yeah.
What are the two key components for canine success? That's effective training and proper nutrition. Fueled by Team Dog brings those two components to your family and best friend. The perfect nutritional balance that results in a higher mental acuity, energy, overall vitality, and even an improved appearance. Every product you will find in my company's store was born from the battlefield and not from the boardroom. Let my life's work help you become your dog's hero.
Anything else from our time together at the team before we transition into what you did after that?
CISM between the platoons.
I don't think I've ever even really talked about that.
Yeah, between the platoons. So we came back from that first deployment, the cruise box PT deployment, where we were on 16 different vessels.
Yeah,
over 6 months. Mm-hmm. The East Timor. We went from Australia to East Timor, and then into
Bahrain, then to Yemen, then to Dubai.
What about Singapore? And
Singapore was the second deployment.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I knew we were gonna, because I know you remember that timeline shit for you is just flawless, and I can't do it.
So first deployment we did Hawaii, Kwajalein, Australia.
Yeah.
Australia, East Timor.
Dude, that Australia trip was awesome.
Yeah, it was. I mean, hopping a fucking plane and going to dive on the Great Barrier Reef. And
when we were going to go swimming off the pier, we'd been there for what? We'd been on the ground for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we're there with the Australian Army on that pier in Darwin. And we're like, hey, we're going to go out and swim. You guys want to come? And one of the fucking Australian guys, I don't think it's a good idea, mate. I'm going to butcher my fucking Australian accent. And we're like, what the fuck? We're just going to go swim. He's like, yeah, it's a dry season, mate. It's a competition whether the whites get you or the crocs.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
And we're like, fuck you. He said, we just thought he was fucking with us. And so he took a couple of chickens down the end of that pier and threw them in the water. And a croc got one, a fucking shark got the other in seconds.
Yeah. Fuck this.
We were going to go jump in that fucking water.
Fucking idiots.
And then driving, Glenn and I drove out to that fucking national park.
Litchfield.
Yeah, Litchfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's damn near the size of the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
And camped for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fucking, they're good times. And then flying down and doing the Great Barrier Reef diving.
Oh, yeah, there was a handful of us that told our leadership that we were going to camp at Litchfield over a long weekend and hop on a fucking plane. I mean, I can't imagine doing it now. Like, we're in a foreign country on deployment, and we're like, we're going to camp for 4 days, and then, we hop a Qantas Air flight across the fucking continent to the Gold Coast to where Cairns or Cairns, the way they pronounce it. Did like a 3-day fucking pub crawl / dive on the Great Barrier Reef. And
good times.
It was awesome. Did we ever tell him we did that?
Yeah, if he watches this, he'll know now. I don't know.
I don't remember if we talked about it maybe at Glenn's funeral.
Because that was under McNary, and McNary would have lost his fucking ever-loving mind.
Yeah.
But Van would have been like, hey, fucking you ain't get in trouble, because he came from that old school world and like, well, did anybody die? Yeah. All right.
He'd have done the Dukes of Hazzard. God damn it, boys.
God damn it, boys. Now can I cover your ass? All right, we're good.
So I guess back to the timeline. We did Australia, the East Timor non-combatant evacuation, back to Australia, and then steamed straight to Bahrain. We weren't in Bahrain for very long, and then the coal got hit.
Yeah, that's right.
And then jumped on the Tarawa, took the Tarawa.
It seemed to me we'd gone from East Timor straight to the coal, but maybe we did do Bahrain first.
Yeah, we went straight to Bahrain first, and it actually happened when we were in Bahrain.
Okay.
So we hadn't been in Bahrain for very long, but the coal happens, so we jump on the Tarawa and roll with the Tarawa ARG group all the way down to Yemen, and then that's when the Mount Rushmore and the coal got bombed. We roll down on the Tarawa, and because the Tarawa was close, we got down there and were on the Tarawa for a little while the Mount Rushmore and the Duluth were meeting us.
Right.
So then when they showed up, we went back on the Duluth because that's what we were on. And then stayed there for 2 months, and then went to Dubai, UAE, did the port security stuff.
Yeah, the volleyball trip.
Yeah, and then
and
then on the way back, that's an inside joke that nobody else is gonna fucking get. God damn.
Oh, that is absolutely priceless. I am so glad you reminded me of that. Holy shit, that is awesome.
One fucking exclamation that says so much.
So fucking crazy that's that triggering, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like smells from when you're a kid,
or a song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
So we were there for about 5-6 weeks, and then did Thailand, Hong Kong on the way home.
So on that whole deployment, going into that deployment, I was kicking around. I had done a bunch of sprint triathlons, and I'd done, I don't know, maybe at that point I was 4 or 5 half Ironman distance triathlons in, and I was kicking around doing a full length Ironman. And there was a warrant officer on that on the Duluth. Oh shit! I can picture his face. I can't think of his name, but he had done a whole bunch of Ironmans over his life, and we were talking about it. He was like, "You're looking to do one." He said, "You should do New Zealand. It's a freshwater swim. It's the second oldest Ironman length race on the planet." And he said the place is just spectacular. So I signed up to do it. Right at the beginning of that deployment, I bought a piece of shit Trek bike that I mounted on an ammo can in my CB shelter for the Air Ops CB shelter. And I had a little TV in there and I had a radio, and I had just enough room to sit on a magnetic trainer with my bike mounted to an ammo can. And I ran on a treadmill. So I did that whole deployment. I trained to go and do an Ironman.
And I mean, I remember you doing that shit, seeing you spending hours.
Yeah, I'd sit 4 fucking hours on that bike in that CB shelter.
Yeah.
Just pedaling on a magnetic trainer.
Was there some rhyme to the reason pyramid wise, or like, I mean, did you have a train, or was it just like, I'm going to go spend some?
I didn't know really what I was doing other than I knew the distance that I was getting into. I had done halves, but I'd never trained under a formal trainer until my third half. I hired a guy and I got introduced to what they call heart rate training for endurance work. And so everything I did on the treadmill and on the bike, I just used that heart rate and math that he had given me. And I trained in those zones for longer and longer periods for that whole cruise.
Yeah. So
I didn't get in the water really at all. We swam in Dubai a lot.
Yeah.
Swam in Hawaii on the way back, but no, with the water wasn't my problem. My problem was the run and the ride.
Yeah. And, so when we got back from that deployment, it was in early February of 01.
Yeah.
When was the actual?
I think it was March 1st. I mean, we got back and I was in town. I had ordered a really nice tri-bike from I can't even remember the company. It was a carbon fiber titanium blend out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
God damn, that was a nice bike. It was so smooth and so fast.
Yeah.
And it showed up like a week before I had to fly to New Zealand for the race. And so I put it together and I rode it up and down the Strand like 4 times. I'm like, okay, good enough. And I boxed it and sent it to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I flew over and did New Zealand.
That was Lake Taupo, right?
Yeah, Lake Taupo on the North Island. And it was awesome. That trip was spectacular. I hadn't done free fall yet for the teams. I'd been wanting free fall, but that was when the Army still ran that and we didn't have our own control over it. So guys, it
was tough to get a spot.
Well, I was 12 years in and I was still trying to get free fall.
Yeah.
And I ended up with it after, but I went to New Zealand and I took 3 weeks of leave, post-deployment leave. I did the race and then I stayed. There was a drop zone, a civilian drop zone on the run course. And so the group that I flew over with, I flew over in one of those organized groups for foreign races. And the race organizers were super awesome. The people in the group, I made some decent friends in that group, and they wanted to go do a tandem jump like a couple of days after, and then they were all flying back with the group, and I decided I was going to stay from the tandem. So I went and did the tandem with them because I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll go do a tandem. And while we're under canopy coming down, I asked the guy, I was like, hey, what's the deal with getting qualified? He's like, you mean getting your own? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's like 12 jumps and it was cheaper there than it was in the States. And it was an FAA certification, so it was a global certification. I was like, could I? He's like, yeah, that we do them on a recurring. It's not a set timeline. You just come in and you get your jumps when you can get your jumps. So I just elected to stay and get my free fall certification civilian. And a couple of blonde chicks, New Zealand girls, teaching me to skydive, and they just thought it was hilarious that, this fucking Navy SEAL. I'm like, are you going to go home and tell your mates that a couple of Sheilas taught you? I'm like, fuck yeah, I am. I'm going to brag my ass off. I don't give a shit who's teaching me.
What else can I tell them?
But my ground school, hugely abbreviated. So it was supposed to be an 8-hour ground school to learn how to pack and learning the structure of, how to jump and how to pack and how to fly and all that shit and body positions. And Lynette was my head instructor's name. And she says, I said, I'm getting ready to start packing. And I throw a chute out and she goes, you look like you've handled a pair. I was like, well, if I've done other shit, can we abbreviate this? She goes, what's your background? And because my first platoon chief on the East Coast was a jump guy. He was an air guy. And we jumped fucking everywhere. I've got like 86 static line jumps, which is kind of unheard of in the teams because guys get 10 and they're fucking done because they suck.
Yeah.
And they're just miserable. But I think I have 86. And so I told her, I've got like 86 static lines and I'm a parachute rigger for the teams. She goes, you have that in the bag in the next 10 minutes? Like, well, I didn't mean abbreviate it that much. She's like, nah, you'll be fine. I'll brief you in the air. Yeah. Oh, and good. So she did. I put the chute in the bag. She verified everything. She's like, yep, good to go. Put it on. Let's get in the plane.
Jesus.
Like, oh shit. That just got real in a hurry.
Yeah. Damn. Well, so, I mean, it's a cool story on the jumping thing. I noticed you glossed over the Ironman. I mean, you finished.
I did.
Yeah. What was the time? Do you remember?
12:36, I think.
So expectation versus reality. Like, how was it?
It was about what I thought it was going to be. I was really hoping to break 12 hours. That was my goal. And I was super, despite a lack of training in the water, history in the water, it's like history of shooting. You put time in and muscle memory is there. So my swim was really good. My ride was okay. My run was fucking miserable. Yeah. And it was just more of that. I've never been a runner. And psychologically, going from non-running to running stress fractures all the way up into my pelvis, I was never psychologically geared towards running. I didn't like it. Yeah. And so the run was fucking miserable for me.
Did you have to dig deep to finish it?
No, there was no, I wasn't going to finish it. I just was fucking miserable and slow. Yeah. It was really slow. I mean, I did most of the run with a wheelchair athlete that I met on the run. Yeah. And him and I had lunch after, and we talked, got all, actually talked, but every aid station, they had aid stations pretty much every mile, and every aid station, I was either passing him or he was passing me. Yeah. For the whole thing. And it was fucking miserable.
Yeah. How did you feel afterwards? I mean, were you pretty wrecked or not bad?
I was, it was real similar to post Hell Week.
Yeah.
Not as bad because it wasn't with as lack of, and not near the miles, but it was
6 days either.
It was also condensed dramatically. I mean, 12 hours doing that much distance is pretty significant, and it's fucking hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, especially leading up to training for it on a deployment where it's not like we weren't doing other shit, real world shit, so.
Right. And then again, the reminder that I was an average fucking team guy athlete. Like, it's fucking crazy.
You like to throw that in there.
I do. Yeah. I do. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my average.
All right. So you come back. We've kind of already talked about the combat deployment to a certain extent. Or I mean,
so the CISM thing.
Yeah.
So we came back, and neither one of us had any schools coming up. So we were between deployments. We were between deployments, and we were also pre-workup for the next platoon roll in.
Yeah.
And we didn't. And when I came back from New Zealand, I actually I was slotted for free fall school.
Yeah.
Fucking great. Now I already paid for that. Fucking jackasses.
Yeah.
So we went over to CISM, and it's a French acronym for something. Do you remember what it means?
I mean, I don't, the actual CISM, no, it's, again, it's four French words, but it's the Navy Pentathlon team.
Well, but it was the Navy, what we were doing was a pentathlon, but CISM is like it's a NATO country military
Combat
Olympics.
Pentathlon.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes. And we were doing the pentathlon. So there was 2 swimming events.
Obstacle course.
The row, the run and shoot. So basically biathlon type shit that was like a little over 3 miles. I think it was a 5K plus shooting.
Yeah.
And then the O course that was like a minute 40, minute 50.
Super short by comparison.
And you had fucked your groin up.
On
deployment. And so you were trying to work through that, but I was actually, because I'd come from the Ironman, and I was actually in probably the best shape of my adult life at the time. I was, 178 pounds, and I was actually running sub 6 minute miles for, 3, 4, or 5 miles at a run, which was just unheard of for me.
Yeah.
And then I crashed and burned on that O course and broke both arms.
Yeah.
And you took the opportunity to fuck with me.
I mean,
horribly,
as I should have.
Fucking bully.
I feel like it's a bit of a misrepresentation.
No, it's pretty accurate. I mean, so okay. So I'll set the stage, if I may.
Yeah,
is it okay if
I wish you would?
Okay. So we're in the competition part of eliminating who could possibly go to Turkey and do the games this year. Mm-hmm. And it's the morning of the O course, and the O course is a little short thing. Like I said, it's just under 2 minutes. And the first obstacle is a hurdle. Well, it was a track hurdle forever, but the old Vietnam era Master Chief that ran the course.
Oh, Lucky.
Somebody kept stealing his track hurdle. So there was a male track hurdle, female track hurdle, 2 different heights. And they kept stealing his track hurdle, so he planted 2 posts in concrete with a sliding horizontal so that he could set it for women's height and set it for men's height. I got little stubby legs, and so men's height was right at belly button for me. So that's quite a ways above my crotch. And I went into that shit full tilt because I wanted to go to Turkey and compete. I thought that was fucking just great. I'm in the best shape of my life. And I hit that hurdle with my right leg extended and my left arch caught that upright, and I pinwheeled into the ground like this, just as hard as humanly possible, and I heard my right arm break.
Yeah.
My right fucking whatchamacallit, that one.
Your elbow.
Yeah. And radial head.
Yeah.
Radius. And I heard it break when I hit the ground, and because I hit just slightly off kilter, my right arm hit first. And you come walking over giggling like, holy shit, you're fucking useless. And I'm like, my fucking arm's broken. You're like, how the fuck do you know that? I'm like, I fucking heard it break. It's fucking, oh my God, it's fucked up. And so, they stopped everything. And you and I went over to X-ray right there on the base. Like fucking 4-minute drive.
Yeah.
But before we did, you snapped me in the nuts with my own shorts because I couldn't undress myself, and you thought it was fucking funny.
Well, I mean,
again, you're an asshole.
Again, to be fair, when a grown man's like, "Hey, can you help me take my shorts off?"
My arms didn't work, dude. Come on, have some sympathy. No, none.
I would say you'd have gotten truckloads of sympathy had you displayed any sympathy for me for our entire friendship up until that point.
All right, that's all right. That might be just fair.
The shoe fits.
So anyway, we go over to X-ray, and I've still got my shirt on, and I'm trying to help the guy take my shirt off, and he goes, I'm just going to cut it off. Fucking one of my favorite shirts, dickhead, whatever. So my left arm hurts too. He's like, well, we're going to do bilateral X-rays because for comparison, that's typical.
Yeah.
That's standard practice. And so he takes his X-rays, and we're sitting out in the waiting room, and he comes out just chuckling. He goes, they're both broke to shit. Good luck. I already sent it up to the hospital. Like, just dismiss us.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
So both radial heads are broken. So we're driving off of the island. And when you go down Orange, you turn right to go across the bridge, and you did not turn right. You kept going. And I'm like, dickhead, where the fuck? He's like, and I remember you looking at me like, you don't think I'm going to go sit in the ER with you for fucking 2 or 3 hours on an empty stomach, do you? I'm going to eat, motherfucker. And so you took me to lunch, which was fucking great because I couldn't feed myself. I remember sticking nuggets on a fork with my left arm that kind of worked and wedging them in the table and leaning over the table to eat them because you wouldn't help because you thought that shit was so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's funny looking back the things that you find amusing, I guess.
It is.
But, it was a KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell.
Yeah, the Kentucky Hut.
Yeah, and yeah, we were eating like spicy KFC fucking boneless wings. And,
oh, shit. And so then we drive up to the hospital, and I check in, and they know that I'm coming, and we're sitting out there, and I'm in a bad way. I don't have any pain meds or anything. Now, here's where the fucking shoe goes the other direction. So my boy fucks with me, but nobody else gets to, which is fucking, I love that part of the community. Like, I'll fuck with you to my heart's content, but nobody from the outside is allowed to play that game. And so we're sitting out there, and you're like, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking miserable. And so you go up to the desk, and fucking first class corpsman was like, what can I, like, my buddy over there has 2 broken arms and nobody's fucking doing anything. You think you could fucking motivate somebody to do some shit? The guy's like, well, we know that he's here, and we'll get on it. And you're like, that's not good enough for me. So you flip open their little fucking counter deal, and you walk in the back, and there's like 5 guys back there, guys and girls in khakis, fucking officer types, standing back there running their fucking mouths, and now you're loud and fucking pissed. And I'm sitting out in the waiting room, and I hear, hey, do any of you fuckers work in here? Because we're both in civilian clothes. They don't know who the fuck we are. Yeah. Like, hey, do any of you fuckers work in here? Well, yeah. Well, my buddy's out there with 2 fucking broken arms. Maybe you stop fucking running your mouths and get out there and fucking do your goddamn jobs. And he's not the only one sitting in the fucking waiting room. Yeah. Fucking kicking the hornet's nest. Yeah. And then the guy comes out and tries to shake my hand. Sorry about that. I'm like, my arms are broken. Yeah, oh, sorry. And so he offers me his other hand. I said arms, plural. They're both broken, fuckface.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah.
Shit. And so then I went to free fall school with a fucked up wing.
Yeah. Well, so you had, the other thing of note is a mutual friend of ours who we met through Glenn, Gino was your surgeon.
Right.
And this was something that was a cool experience for me.
That was so awesome.
Like for the listeners, I got to sit in on his elbow surgery, like in the operating room, fucking and watch it. And it was the first time I was ever like, or I guess it was the awakening for me to understand how violent fucking repair surgeries are on from an ortho standpoint. It's like,
it was super. I mean, it was really cool, and it was twofold cool. So, hey, can Mike come into my surgery? Well, technically it's supposed to be family. I'm like, he's my brother.
Yeah.
He goes, I get that, but I was like, well, can you? He's like, I'll talk to the surgical team. If nobody has a problem with it, we'll make it happen. So he talks to him and everybody's cool with it. So we're in surgery and he opens my arms up. So it's two surgeons. It's him on one side and the other guy's name was Booher, older guy, did my left side. So my right side was the more fucked up side. And when he opened it up, he didn't have all the parts he needed to do the surgery. He couldn't put it back together. He had to send out for shit. So he needed to keep me under anesthesia, but I hadn't approved.
yeah.
I hadn't signature approved a catheter.
Yeah. Nor did you think you had one going in.
Nor
so.
did I think I was going to get one. And so Gino looks to Mike. He's like, and Mike's like, fuck yeah, I'll sign it. Can I put it in?
Also.
So I'm unconscious. I don't know any of this shit's going on. So I get this surgery. I'm under for almost 9 hours.
Yeah, it was a long one.
It was a long surgery. So my left arm's buttoned up and they finally get my right arm buttoned up. And I'm coming out of anesthesia and Mike's sitting in the fucking waiting room. Hey, you're sitting in my room. Hey, you got to piss yet? Like, no, I'm good. Holy shit. Wow. How long was I out? Oh, you were out for a long fucking time. You got to piss yet?
Yeah. They need you to piss.
They need you to piss to make sure that that everything's okay. I'm like, I don't. And then I'm like, I think I could push, help me get up. So he helps me out of bed and I'm fucking, both my arms are pegged to my hips. And so I go in and I start to piss. I'm like, what the fuck? It just burns like hell. And he's laughing his ass off. He goes, so I got to put a catheter in you and take it out. Motherfucker. Yeah, and I'm still good friends with Gino.
Yeah,
I've actually been in with him on other surgeries, and it's super fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's like a really clean woods project.
Yeah.
It's fucking really neat to see orthopedic surgery done correctly. It's really.
I mean, I was surprised at how violent it was, though. I mean, there's times where like they'd have their foot up on the table, like, leaning into, pulling on you, and or hammering shit into your body, and you're just like, holy fuck.
Well, they did 3 surgeries on this arm, and the last surgery I got him to video, and him and the other surgeon both, because they were worried about fucking up the brachial nerve.
Yeah,
this thing's irritating.
Yeah, well, getting loud.
So instead of cutting in the front, they go in from the back and then they use like rib spreaders to pull all this shit out of the way to do the surgery. And Gino's up on the table on his knees and he's got his hand in my elbow and he's moving around. He goes, that doesn't feel like that's supposed to be there. And he's talking to the other surgeon. The other guy's a hand specialist to make sure they don't kill my hand. And he gets down, the other guy gets up, he goes, yeah, let's cut it out and see what happens. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they're just winging it.
So it grew, they call it a contracture. So my joint grew an extra tendon to protect the damage that had been done. Biology's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And so they cut that contracture out and my arm fell to full extension because before that surgery, I could only extend my arm to...
Yeah, I remember.
I don't know, it was like maybe just like 95 to 110 degrees. I couldn't get it to 180. I couldn't even get close.
Yeah.
And even now I can't get to 180. I'm probably 165.
Yeah.
For straight. It won't go straight as my left arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching him do that surgery, I was like, and then when we talked, I watched that video and you're like, yeah, the first one was fucking violent like that too. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fucking wild to see. So, so we're both on the CISM team. I tear my fucking groin, so I can't go to Turkey. You bust your elbow, so you can't go to Turkey. I can't go to Turkey. So then, neither of us ended up getting to compete, but we were both on the team for the season, which was a neat experience.
Yeah, it was.
And then
the training protocols, like I said, that was the best running I'd ever done.
I mean, it was like being a professional athlete. You know, spending 5-6 hours a day, 5-6 days a week,
working
training.
out.
I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times I can't turn my mind off at night, and it's a little tough to get to sleep. Poor sleep can cause weight gain, mood issues, poor mental health, lower productivity, and really that's sleeping less than 6 or 7 hours a night. And that could be reduced white blood cell count. The white blood cell count is really what protects your body against illness, disease, fighting viruses, bacteria, etc. It's no secret that sleep is really the foundation for our mental and physical health. It's performance driven. I mean, it has an overreaching impact in every aspect of our life, and it's crucial that you get good, qualitative, restorative rest. That's why I like Beam Dream. Today, my special listeners get a discount on Beam Dream Powder. It's their best-selling hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. It's also available in pretty awesome flavors such as cinnamon cocoa, chocolate peanut butter, and mint chip. It's a great product. Helps turn your mind off. There's no gnarly side effects. It doesn't make you feel groggy the next day. It contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. I just like to mix it into a little hot water or milk, stir, froth it, and enjoy it before bedtime. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, take advantage of the biggest sale of the year and get up to 50% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/micdrop, all caps, all one word. Discount auto-applied at checkout. The no code is necessary. And that's Beam, BEAM.com/micdrop for up to 50% off. All right, so fast forward, we go through the Iraq deployment platoon. I've talked some of those stories about it. Reflecting back on it now, I guess, do you look at the Iraq deployment as anything in particular of, in any way of how you remember it? I mean, what do you reflect on as far as that goes?
The guys. Always. I mean, I went into the military probably the same naive God and country, well, less God for me, but country and, patriotism and all that shit, and an opportunity to travel. And by that point in my career, I'd gotten old enough to see behind the curtain enough to realize what a crock of shit a lot of American policy is globally, because it has nothing to do with anything other than furthering a monetary issue. Mm-hmm. And it was about the boys.
Yeah.
These are my boys, and we went together. We're coming home together was always that was always the litmus for me.
Yeah.
And I think the deployment went well because of that attitude, because I think it was relatively well shared.
Yeah. No, I agree. Your time at Team 3 came to an end shortly thereafter, and then you end up going to air operations.
Yeah. Also, Tom.
Yeah.
So I'd never done a non-platoon tour. A shore tour for a SEAL. I'd never done that. I'd only been at SEAL teams with deployments in the future, and I wanted to do a shore tour, and I got orders to Buds, and I didn't know where I wanted to work. Well, shit, we both got orders to Buds. You went to Buds as well, but you went to the base course, and I went to the advanced side, and I went to the advanced side based off of Tommy Barker's recommendation, because I'd gotten really heavy into the air stuff.
Yep.
And he was at air from our first deployment. He went over there, and so he was at the tail end of his time there. He's like, if you want to, you'd have a really good time over here. And so we did static climb, jump master course, and the ropes course, HRST master course. So all the rappelling, spy rope, fast rope, all of that stuff, the master side of it, the guy that runs and sets all that shit up. And so we were teaching that course. And then we built the free fall course for the community, based off of the Army model, so that we could do our own thing and get more guys certified.
Yeah. And you spent 3 years there, right?
Just a little over 3. It was, so I got there so we came back in March from that deployment. No.
That was like May, June.
Yeah, it was May, June. Yeah, because my birthday was over there when you guys tried to haze me.
Yeah.
And that didn't go well.
Well, there wasn't you guys. I wasn't in on that.
Oh, well,
actually.
yeah. But Glenn tried, and then he's like, fuck, this isn't even any fun.
Well, there was like 5 guys that tried, and they couldn't wrap you up.
Yeah.
You were just an angry, bitter fuck.
Yeah, because I was
about it.
and I'll fucking kill everybody. And Glenn said, at one point, I thought about cold cocking you, but I figured if I didn't kill you when you came to, you'd have remembered that shit, and I didn't want that on my conscience.
Yeah.
Fucking Glenn. He tried to pull my head off in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
We were all fucking sleep deprived, and he got all mad because I was blowing the horn being an asshole.
Yeah. There's a million stories.
So, whatever it was, June-ish, probably, going over to Air Ops, and I went over there, and you went over the base course, and then I was coming up on a re-enlistment, and I wanted to just stay at Air. I was the LPO over there, and there was nobody to fill because it was like a 6-month work to get a guy to be in the job that I was in. It took me 6 months to get to where I could be an instructor. That's, it's the way the teams run the instructor qual process, I think is very valid.
Yeah.
And it does. It makes it not entirely, but it weeds out most guys that want to be an instructor just to be a douche.
Yeah.
And it makes guys want to do the right thing for the right reasons. And so they didn't have anybody to fill my position, and I pitched to stay. And the detailer at the time, my first issue with a detailer was really good, coming from college, going in, and now it's bad. And it was a guy that I'd gone through buds with. And he's like, no, you got to go back to a platoon. Well, now I'm sneaking on 40, and I've multiple broken things, multiple surgeries, and I think there's too many guys, and in our community, I think this is especially true, and I think it's probably true in all spec ops communities. Guys are too arrogant, and they don't know when to pull the plug for themselves.
Yeah.
To say, hey, I'm more of a liability than I am a help. And I think it's a failing of the, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the alpha male mentality. It's a failing, guys not being able to say, this is where I am, and this is what I can bring to the game that will be beneficial for everybody. And the marker was, man, you need to do another deployment. I'm like, I've already done a deployment more than you have with a 4-year break in service, and I've been on both coasts. And you have been on 4 shore tours in your 18 years. You've done less deployments than I have. And I called him on it, but he's an E8 and I'm an E6, and fuck you, deal with it. And I told him on the phone, I was like, I used to remember stories when we were on the East Coast about guys going from Tennessee out to the West Coast, detailers, and getting their asses kicked for talking shit on the phone to a guy on the West Coast, thinking, fuck him, I'll do whatever the fuck I want. I'm the detailer. Yeah. And I told him that on the phone. I said, I remember hearing those stories, and if I ever see you in person again, one of us is going to the hospital because fuck you. Yeah. And so he's like, you're either going to do another platoon or you're going to go to Bahrain. And well, Bahrain is a 1-year tour. They call it a hardship tour. So it's typically unaccompanied, and usually from a hardship tour with the Navy, you get your choice of orders coming out. I was like, I'll go do my year in Bahrain. I'll come back to Air Ops. Fuck them. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, fine, fuck it. Send me to Bahrain. So I went to Bahrain. And when I was getting ready to leave Bahrain, he had extended as the detailer in Tennessee, and he was still my detailer. Yeah. And he's like, oh, you're going back to a platoon. I'm like, I'll get the fuck out. And now when I got out, I was at like 16 years, 3 months and 9 days, I think, was my exit. And he's like, nobody gets out over 15 years. I'm like, you have to change that fucking speech because I'm a grown man. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife, and I don't have any property. I'll live in my truck, and you can go fuck yourself. And so I was just a bitter bitch, and I quit.
Yeah. Well, but there's more to it though. The letter that you sent.
There's asides because I can't keep my fucking mouth shut.
Because you were back stateside in kind of a holding area, right?
Like, well, no, the letter was when I was in Bahrain. So while I was in Bahrain, I was the LPO of Air Ops or LPO of the training department for Det 3. And so I made inroads with a guy. He was a British expat that was running the Bahraini Special Police Force. They were the king's private fucking police force. Yeah. And they were really good guys, but they were horribly undertrained. They had a lot of money. So I talked to this guy's name was Mike Page, and his name was Mike Page. And if he doesn't like it, he can call me and tell me he didn't like me saying that. But he was a fucking really good guy, and he was connected to the king of Bahrain. Well, the Det, because it was U.S. forces, the Det didn't have access to shooting ranges and explosives ranges and a place to jump. We didn't have that access because nobody would actually do the work. They'd go over there and fuck off for a year and do nothing and then be bitter about it. Yeah. Well, so I worked with a guy that came from Alaska, Todd, and another guy named Coach, warrant officer. We were in training together, and I was like, hey, this guy Mike can connect us to, if we're just willing to share and take his guys. And so, one was a chief, the other was the OIC. And so they're like, well, let's fucking do shit. If we're going to be here for a year, let's do shit for a year. So every week we were shooting, we were blowing shit up, we were jumping, we were fucking doing hook and climbs on their little mothball fleet. So we hung out and shot and did shit the whole year. That global email system that had been building as we came under the wing of SOCOM, an email came across my computer I'd been over there, so this is probably November of 07. Yeah, it's probably November of 07. We just got a new CO. He'd been there maybe a month. And I didn't run anymore. I'd stopped running. I just didn't enjoy it, so I stopped running. So I didn't do morning PTs with the command. I'd go in early and lift weights, and then I'd do my own shit. Well, the new CO was in the gym every morning lifting weights. So I'd see him every day. So I get this email across my computer, and it's I wasn't supposed to get it. The guy that sent it was, I think he was a Team 7 guy. It's an admin type, and he sent this email to Global that was basically a pitch for special duty pay for guys that were E8 and above with over 24 years of service. And it was titled Special Duty Pay for Retention. So a guy that's been in 24 years and is an E8, they want to give that guy an extra $1,000 a month so he'll stay. Pretty sure that's not the guy you need to bait to stay. Yeah. And it fucking infuriated me. I was so mad so fast. And so I wrote a reply.
To everybody.
To Global. And I sent it twice because I was afraid I missed people the first time. Yeah. And my reply was fucking, it was, as an E6 in the Navy, it was not the right tone, shall we say. But it was basically, I was like, yeah, this is fucking brilliant. Yeah, let's give a guy that's proven that he doesn't want to leave, that's a lifer. Let's give that guy another $1,000 a month. Meanwhile, the guys that are actually downrange in harm's way, their wives are on fucking food stamps back at the Strand and in Virginia because they can't make ends meet because they get fucking paid pennies. And you want to give another $1,000 a month to guys that have proven they don't want to quit. Yeah. That's fucking genius. Yeah, let's just go that route. Yeah. Fucking military bureaucracy at its finest. Send. Oh, I made it. Send again. And I went home.
Yeah.
It's like 5 o'clock in Bahrain. Fucking, I never gave it another thought. I vented myself and I walked away. I came in the next morning. I'm fucking, 2 sets into my workout. CO comes in. Does courtesy nod. We're listening to music. He keeps looking at me like, so I walked, I was like, do you need a spot? He goes, you haven't looked at your email yet this morning, have you? And I went, no. And then it dawned on me that I'd sent that email the day before. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, shit. Like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, fuck. I probably, because I sent that shit to Admiral. I sent it to everybody. Yeah. And he's seen it. Well, now it's, 12, 14 hours later, and the States have been awake. And I said, no, I don't check my email when I come in the morning. I said, how bad is it? And he goes, he stands up and he goes, it's pretty fucking impressive. Like he wasn't mad at me at all. He was so fucking mellow about it. And to this day, I've heard a lot of bad shit about the guy over the years as he's continued to progress, but him and I, no issues whatsoever because of how he handled it. And he's like, look, there is no small faction of the entire SEAL community, coastals, both coasts, that are calling for your fucking head.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh. Okay. He goes, go check your email. I know what's happened. The command master chief knows what's happened. Go check your email, come over and talk to me. So I've got, 100 plus emails directed right at me. I'm like,
Like from people you don't even know.
Some that I don't know, some that I do know, but I also know how long I've been in the hierarchy of, what Bud's class and seniority and all that shit. So I pay attention to that shit because you should. And everybody's a new guy to somebody. And so I go over and I talk to the CO. And I talk to the command master chief. And they think this shit's just fucking hilarious, which, I fucking I pissed people off. They were calling for me to be court-martialed and fucking locked up.
To me,
or to have my rank removed and be kicked the fuck out.
It's crazy.
Just because I had an opinion about some shit that's just fucking bureaucratically idiotic.
Yeah. It's weird, taking a step back again, in that moment, and I know when it happened, similarly, I was like, oh shit, he's fucked, and I'm scared for you. You know, and then like now that we've been out a while, you look back and you're like, that is dumb as fuck. That's even a problem, let alone.
Right. So my conversation with the CEO, and again, this is why I liked him. He said, and I told him, I said, look, up front, I never even considered the blowback for you as the CEO. I simply spoke my mind as I felt it needed to be spoke. And he's like, look, we're similar time in the community. He said, we came up, this is supposed to be a community of adults that can fucking speak their mind without people getting their fucking feelings hurt. Yeah. So he said, quite frankly, I don't give a fuck about everybody else. He said, I know what you're doing here. I know how you're doing here. And I know that you're fucking a solid dude. I've already done research on you because of this. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't, backing a shit player.
Yeah.
He says, I said, so how do we proceed? He says, anybody that emails you personally, whether they CC me or not, respond to them in kind, however the fuck you want. Have fun with it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were at Bud still. And so I called you and I got you to research like half a dozen different names to find out because I got a whole bunch of this fucking new guy. You got no fucking idea. And a lot of the guys fuck all but like one of them that played the fucking new guy game went through Bud's between 20 and 50 classes behind me.
Yeah.
They just happened to be senior to me because I couldn't keep my mouth shut and I wasn't getting promoted.
Yeah.
And so I did. I went round and round with a whole bunch of guys. And out of all the guys that I responded to personally, 3 talked to me a second time.
Yeah.
Based off of my response to their fucking new guy, fuck you. And one of them, we've actually become friends. And he owned a couple of chiropractic offices in San Diego. He's a warrant. And he's like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, hey, because he was going to get that money. Yeah. If they approved this up through Congress and the Senate, he would have got that money. I'm like, don't you own a couple of chiropractic offices in San Diego? Do you really need the money? And so his response to me was, yeah, you're right. I don't fucking need the money. You're absolutely right. He said, it's the tone you use that I have a problem with as, a W-4. I think your tone was wrong. And I said, hey, let me ask you this. I said, if I had used a different tone, would you have even read the email I wrote? Quiet for me. He goes, no, I wouldn't have. Like, so the tone was necessary, and ultimately the pay never got approved. It didn't go through. Now I don't know that I had anything to do with that at all. It may have been a pipe dream to begin with.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it was a fucking stupid idea, and somebody needed to call it a stupid idea, and I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, fast forward when I'm getting ready to get out, our double dipping scheme on terminal leave, and I cut these fucking fingers off when we were loading to fucking drive all of our shit to Texas. And then we were working for that security firm, and they caught me because I was on medical leave because I cut 2 fingers off, and and they tried to railroad me. One of the guys that commented to me personally had a personal grief, and he was trying to end my career.
Yeah.
And he was trying to end it on a bad note.
Yeah.
And even that didn't turn out well for him, which was nice for me.
Yeah. Yeah, because they called you back and they piss tested you and
they fucking hair tested me for drugs because they thought I was fucking you. They were trying to find a way to wedge. And I ended up at Commodore's Mass, and the Commodore was a good guy. Yeah. And he goes, why the fuck are you getting out? And I said, quite frankly, it's because of this shit.
Yeah.
Because I spoke my mind. Guys have an issue with me because they don't want me to promote to where I can talk to them at equal level pay grade wise. They have an issue with me having an opinion as an E6, and I don't need to deal with the fucking bureaucracy anymore. I don't like it, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so I fucking quit.
Yeah. Fucking amen. All right, so 16 and a half years, which is very abnormal. Almost nobody gets out that close to 20.
Well, it's because marriage, kids, houses, all that shit, it stacks, and then guys can't afford to get out. For most of the time, they just simply can't afford to quit.
Yeah, and I would say this is for most of society, is that most people are beholden to their lifestyle choices and the commitments that they've entered themselves into, and find themselves in positions that they basically can't get out of.
Well, and that's always this, well, I didn't have a choice. Well, you do. You always have a choice. Yeah. The choice you made, good, bad, or indifferent, you made on the information you had at the time.
Yeah. Well, and even, even when I say like enter themselves into decisions that make it, almost impossible to get out of. Even that's not, I mean, you can always get out of it. It's just, it's to what detriment.
Yeah. What are you willing to give up to go another route?
And especially, when families and kids are involved, I mean, to me, I think most people look at it as like, hey, my kids didn't ask to be born. Like I brought them into this world.
I have a commitment and I'm going
to, like, I'm not just going to fucking quit my job and go live out of a fucking truck, whatever. So,
why you say it all condescending like that?
Nothing but respect.
Nothing
but respect. Yeah. I respect you. So you decide, okay, I'm going to, for a year, we'll get back into the truck.
Well, I mean, so I was still pursuing golf too. I mean, I was trying to play pro golf.
Yeah.
Because I thought
I was good.
And I was good-ish. I carried a 3 handicap for 3 years and I could play it anywhere.
On the handicap.
Yeah.
Heavy. All right.
Heavy. I mean, my golf swing in my head, I know what it looks like in my head, and then I know what it looks like on video. I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? I thought you were supposed to be videoing me.
Who's fucking with this video? Yeah.
It's the camera adds 10 pounds. So how many fucking cameras are you using?
Oh, it's fucking great.
So, I was still pursuing golf, and I'm okay. Now I've seen more foreign countries than U.S. states. I'm going to live in my truck and fucking play golf, and I'm going to travel some.
Yeah.
The golf thing petered out largely because I think 2 reasons. One,
you suck.
I started really late with a fucked up body.
Yeah.
I started trying to get good late, and I mean late, like kids that start when they're fucking 4, 5, 6 years old. Yeah. They're starting on time. And here I am in my 30s. I played a little bit in high school. I played a little bit here and there, but I never played seriously until I decided when I was at advanced training, I decided, I'm going to see if I can play golf professionally.
Yeah.
And shit, at advanced training, I was playing 400 rounds of golf a year.
Wow.
And I did. I got good. I didn't get great, but I got good. But I don't think I got, between injury and my lack of willingness to commit to short game work, because it was not fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't as fun as banging a ball really hard.
Yeah.
So I just, discipline. I didn't. And now I'm kicking around, maybe trying it again, see if I can get on the senior tour.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. I'm old enough to be on the
That is
senior
fucking weird.
tour.
Well, I mean, you didn't mention you went to that PGA school.
I did.
Right? Talk about that for a
that second. was a fucking colossal waste of time and money. I had money. So I used some GI Bill that last year and a half of college. I used GI Bill money. Well, that was pre 9/11 GI Bill, and that money was shit.
Yeah.
It was like $400 a month.
Yeah, some crazy.
Yeah, it was pathetic.
Yeah.
So post 9/11, I didn't use all of my GI Bill, so I had post 9/11. Well, now it's the same shit. It's just a better pay, and they paid based off of zip code. And I was pursuing golf, so I went to. This was in 12. I went to as PGCC in Temecula, California, and the school it's PGA doctrine.
Yeah.
Which they say golf is the most taught, least learned athletic endeavor on the globe. And it's to a purpose because, it's like the pharmaceutical companies. There's no money in curing shit. There's money in treatment.
Yeah.
Well, there's no money in making you a better golfer. There's money in telling you that there's better equipment to buy.
Yeah. Making you think that if you get this new fucking putter that...
this driver will change your game. And that, when you watch a commercial, it's no different than the fucking drug commercials.
Yeah.
This will make all of your fucking, despite all the side effects. Yeah. But at any rate, the school was kind of a wash. And I don't know, so I was in my first semester and I got a call from my mom and she had developed cancer. And I'm like, oh, fuck, mama's boy. Shit. Well, do I need to come home? Mom's response on the phone. Do you know how to cure cancer? No, I don't. She's like, then just stay where the fuck you are. I'll let you know if I need you.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Man, it's a tough woman.
Yeah. Fucking wrap your head around it. I might die. Fucking learn. Yeah. You're a grown man. Figure shit out.
Yeah.
But the school had a horrible background religious base.
Really?
A lot of the staff and a fuck ton of the students. And if you didn't participate in their religious dogma, you didn't get the prime.
Like group prayer and shit?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like weekly fucking meetings. And if you didn't go, you didn't get part of it was very grooming.
Yeah. Like you weren't part of the cool kid
from a
club.
Religious standpoint. So when I finished, I did one semester of it and I got knowledge out of it. I did get decent knowledge out of it. And I got some really solid guidance on golf-specific physical athletic training to overcome some of my fucking body's aches, pains, and age. So it was good for that. But then I went home and Mom was in the midst of chemo and radiation. And so I just continued doing it at home. I made a deal with, so UNM is in Albuquerque, and the UNM South course is a championship level course. They've hosted LPGA. They host college tournaments there all the time. It's a big fucking course. It's long. It's like 7,400 yards at the tips. So it's a long course. So people that know golf, that's a long course. And so I just kept playing golf, and then Mom would go to her chemo and she'd come play golf with me. Like, and she asked her chemo doc, she's like, can I go play golf when I'm done in here today? Do you want to go play golf? She's like, well, I don't want to sit around and feel sorry for myself like all the rest of these fucking people. It's like, the chemo makes you sensitive to the sun. Cover yourself up. Have a good time.
Yeah.
And so.
What kind of cancer did she have?
She had uterine ovarian was the initial. And they did, they gutted her. They had full hysterectomy and then chemo and radiation for about a year. And it's funny, and I say this with all seriousness. I love my mom to death, but I think people get wrapped around the axle around death just in general. And I've had this conversation. I think people's issues with people dying is it's the person that's alive. It's not the person that's dead. The people that are alive try to make it about them because they're full of shit most of their lives. And then somebody dies and like, well, I never got to say. Maybe say what's on your fucking mind and let everything fall where, and then you don't have those regrets, in my opinion. But all of that said, she did all of her cancer treatment, and she says, okay, so if it ever comes back, I'm never doing that again. Really? She goes, yeah, that shit sucked. Like, but you too? She's like, it sucked. It was fucking horrible. And she shaved her head. She's like 3 months into chemo. She's complaining to me one day, because when I started shaving my head, I was in college, and she says, fuck's the deal with that? I was like, it's comfortable. No maintenance. So she was complaining that her hair hurt from the chemo. Like if you wear socks the wrong way, it pushes your hair and makes the hair fucking sensitive.
If you wear a hat too long.
Right.
Yeah.
She was complaining about that. I was like, why don't you just buzz it? It won't hurt anymore. She goes, you think? Fucking.
One way to find out.
So she did. She goes, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah.
My head's cold all the fucking time. I'm like, you gotta wear a hat. Yeah, when it's cold, it's fucking horrible. So she shaved her head, and then she was fucking just thrilled. And so she was good for, I think it was late 15. She had a really bad cold winter of 15. And then going into Christmas, she was complaining to me on the phone. We talked on the phone, and she was complaining. She said, you know how you get those little sparklies in your vision? Like when you yawn something? I'm like, yeah. She says, I have that in my left eye all the time, coming from the outside from my peripheral vision and down from the top. What do you think I should do? I'm like, talk to an eye doctor? She's like, oh yeah, I guess I could do that. She went to an eye doctor. He looks at her eye. He says, I want to send you to a specialist. I said, I thought you were a specialist. Like more special than me. So she goes to the specialist, and he says, yeah, we need to get that out of there. She goes, what, the cyst? Because the original doc said I think you got a cyst in your eye. He says, no, the whole eye. Come again? Yeah, we need to pull the eye because that cyst, that eye fluid, it talks to your body, leg bone connected to the thigh bone, all that shit. And she says, it will go downstream and create, and it could kill you. She goes, well, fucking brain? He goes, no, everybody thinks that. And it makes sense from location, but that fluid goes through your liver, and then it creates liver and lung cancer. Okay. So she's scheduled to have her eye removed. And again, super pragmatic, whatever, no big deal. So I told her when we took her, it was like an hour and 15 minutes was the surgery to have her eye removed. Wow. I'm like, what do they use, a melon baller? Like, what the fuck? An hour? Come on. So I said, when they take your eye out, get them to give it to you in a jar. We'll seal it in acrylic. And then when we go to restaurants, you can take it out and read the menu with it. So it'll be great for the grandkids and shit. So like,
did she agree to do that?
They wouldn't let her have her eye. They fought her on it. She's like, no, they wouldn't let me have it. I'm like, that's bullshit. That's your eye. Fuck them. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I didn't want to pitch a fit about it. And so, so she was without an eye, but it did create liver and lung cancer. And she ended up dying in 16 from it. Yeah. I mean, it just fucking, it crushed her.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got out at the end of 08. From 08 to when that happened, that several year period, I mean, 5-6 year period, before you went back home?
Well, I mean, I kind of, so when we got out, I was going to build my shop at your place.
Yeah.
And that ended up falling apart because I didn't want to be a farmhand. And so I talked to my brother about building the shop at his place, and he let me build the shop at his place. And so I was using his place as a kind of a jump off point.
Yeah.
So I played, God, I went all over playing golf and traveling, and I saw a bunch of the U.S. I did well. I didn't do as well as I could have that first year because I was doing other shit.
Yeah.
And then mom having cancer, Glenn dying, like all of those things kind of, and I was dicking around with the, because of Glenn, that SEAL Fit program out of Encinitas. And then I started building CrossFit gyms, and that was fun because I was working with my hands, which I've always enjoyed. I like making shit.
Yeah. So just for the listener, like you would, like a CrossFit gym would say, hey, we want a custom fucking thing built. And so
Right.
you'd measure, and it was all like super customized work for that specific
Right.
gym.
I mean, it was based off of the Rogue model because all of my stuff would accommodate Rogue equipment. Because that was a smart way to do it. They were the leaders on huge. And it made sense to build off of that model, but I could customize shit to fit a space.
Yeah.
And I did, I don't know, I think I did 5 or 6 gyms from the ground up, and I did a bunch of gym modifications and or improvements over the years.
Yeah.
And it was because of Glenn introducing me to the SEAL Fit world and the CrossFit world.
Yeah. And so like in a lot of these cases, you would have a call with them, do measurements, get pictures, whatever, then build the shit at your shop and then drive it out and install
Well,
it.
I never did a custom build without being there in person. That was all. I'd go and meet the gym owner, and this is what we're trying to do, and how can we go about this? And so that was how it was done. It was a complete legit custom.
Yeah.
I need this stuff to fit in this space. How do we go about that?
Yeah. And at what point, year-wise, did you decide you wanted to start fucking with knives?
So, again, that was your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'm curious who's influenced who more over the years.
I'd say it's about a draw.
We're probably real close to a
Pretty
draw
close
at
to
this
even.
point. Yeah. So I think I made that first knife in it's either 12 or 13. And it was my take on the Tom Brown Tracker, which is the blade that was made kind of globally famous through the movie Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. And I mean, Tom Brown didn't design that knife. He took it from somewhere else. And I honestly don't know who designed it originally, but I did my take on it with a much longer handle, and I showed it to you. I was at your place one year, and you're like, "Yeah, that's fucking cool. Make me one of those." So I did. And then you started showing it around, and I started getting these random fucking texts and phone calls. "Hey, I'll trade you a case of Match 308 for one of those. Hey, how much to make me something like this?" I'm like, fuck, I can make money making knives? Okay. So 14, the book signing tour at SHOT Show?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went with you to SHOT Show because I'd never been, and you were there as a guest for somebody. I don't even remember who.
Fuck, I don't remember
To do the book signing thing. Yeah. And I managed to wander around, and I talked to a bunch of, by their own words, custom knife makers.
Yeah.
None of which were willing to make a custom knife. Like, hey, I've got this. Oh, no, we don't do that. We've got these knives and we do these custom options. I'm like, that's not a custom knife. I was really new in the game, and I suspect those people weren't, I mean, there's no way they were the end all be all, but nobody there was making what I thought was a custom knife. And so I decided I was going to start dabbling. And my initial push was for cord wrap stuff because it's functional and it works, but it doesn't sell very well. The market, particularly the Chinese crap market, has made that seem like cheap knives because they're using shit steel and, mass production and all of that. But my cord wrap stuff didn't sell very well. And so I did a few shows, and I started getting a little more serious. Probably 16, I started legit full-time, what I would call full-time, and I'm making, probably half a year I'm making knives, and the other half I'm traveling, doing whatever I want, because once I make a knife and I put it on the site, it's for sale, and I can sell it from anywhere.
Yeah.
I've got a Pelican case in the truck. Anytime I'm on the road, all of my knives that are on the site are in the truck, so I can ship them from anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I do custom orders, which I like the custom side probably more than anything else. The mass-produced 10 or 12 or more at a time is it's boring.
Yeah.
It was fun initially because I was learning, and now I feel like I know enough to be choosy, and I like to custom work best now.
Yeah. And as far as your shop's concerned, I mean, you have pretty much everything in there, right? I mean, you've got a forge, a fucking...
Yeah, I've got a forge, I've got a power hammer, I've got a press. I bought a power hammer because I really wanted to forge knives. Most of my stuff, even now, I'd say I'm probably 70% stock removal. And for the viewer, stock removal is just taking a blank piece of steel that's a dimensional thickness, cutting a blade shape out of it, grinding it to close to finished, doing a heat treat cycle, a temper cycle, and then finish grinding it and putting a handle on it and building a sheath around it. So stock removal. And then forging is taking a blank piece of steel and beating it into the blade shape as close as possible with the minimal amount of grinding. There are a lot of guys that forge, a lot of really, really talented knife makers that forge, and then they grind every piece of evidence of forging off of the knife so it looks like stock removal when they're done with it, which to me doesn't make sense. If you're going to beat on a piece of steel, it should look like you beat on it. That's my personal take on it.
Yeah.
So when I forge a piece, I don't ever grind all of my forged stuff off of it. Yeah. You can always tell that it's been beat on.
Yeah, I mean, that steak knife, kitchen knife set that you have is fucking cool that way. I mean, it's from a leaf spring, you know, and it's a great fucking set of knives. I mean, we use them all the time. You know?
Well, and 5160 is my primary, I probably forged more knives out of 5160, which is leaf spring steel, leaf spring and coil spring steel in the automotive industry. And it's to a standard, it's to a national standard. So the chemistry in the steel is consistent, but it behaves really well under a forge.
Yeah. And so, you know, during this time, as you've spent, you know, years kind of refining your craft as it relates to knife making while also staying on the road, at this point, you know, has there ever been a time where you've thought, maybe I should not settle down, because I know better than that, but, you know, like, has the thought ever even crept into your mind of like, I wouldn't mind having my own place?
I have wondered more than once, particularly in the last 15 years since leaving the Navy and living out of my truck a lot. I think I've slept out of my truck probably a total of 65, 70 days in 15 years.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, you live on your truck but you've got a house. I'm like, no, I back up to the porch of my brother's house, and my house is attached to his house, and I walk onto the porch from my tailgate. I sleep in my truck every night.
Yeah.
And I like it. One thing I don't like about it now is I can't sit up or stand up in the back of my truck. It's too short. And the older I get, the less I like that. So I'm building a bus, and that'll fix that problem. So if I get stuck in shitty weather, I'm not basically in a coffin.
Yeah.
I've got room to move, and I've got a kitchen. And so I think the bus is going to give me latitude to keep doing this for a considerable more amount of time. But as far as getting property and participating in society in that particular vein, I don't have any desire to do it at all.
Yeah.
It's, I do. I think about it. I'm like, what the fuck do I want to be when I grow up? I'm 53. I don't think I've done a ton of shit, but then we sit and talk, and I've actually done quite a bit of shit.
Yeah.
But I don't have any, I'm not building an empire. I don't have any of that desire to participate in that vein. And I think partially it's because I'm fucking cynical.
Yeah.
Because the structure's shit and it's supported by shit.
Yeah.
You know, what's the vein? I'm super proud of my country. I'm disgusted as fuck with my politicians.
Yeah.
It's that. And because that structure won't change until we bring back guillotines and fucking tarring and feathering, I choose to participate in it as little as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, you know, I've known a lot of people over the last 15 years through business and, you know, turning them on to you for knives or whatever. Right. And, you know, it's interesting, like, because there's such a dichotomy between, let's say, the protection dog clients that I have,
right?
You know, who a lot of them end up buying knives from you, which is kind of interesting. But, you know, pretty much,
and they're all really good guys too.
But you know, it's a pretty much a similar opinion. Like, man, that fucking guy. There's so many times where I want to live like he does, you know. And it's like, what's stopping you?
Right.
You know,
choices.
Yeah, but it is interesting, and I don't disagree with the sentiment there. I mean, you and I have talked, God knows how many times. I mean, for me, there's a certain financial aspect that equals the freedom that I'm looking for. And that's my drive. Like, I could give a fuck about money. There's a certain way I want to live where I don't answer to anybody.
Yeah. Well, and that's really the cut, right? It's not, can you do it? It's what are you willing to accept to do it, and what level of living are you willing to live with that? Yeah.
Yep. But no, I mean, to me, it's fascinating. I'm curious, like, having spent 15 years on the road, what are some takeaways that you would offer to people?
Dave Scott, 2 is 1, 1 is none, 2 is 1, 2 is too fucking heavy. 100 pounds of lightweight gear still weighs 100 pounds.
Yeah.
I've pared down considerably. I carry more shit than I probably need, but it's because I can. I think you need less, and I use the dog analogy. People, by and large, particularly in Western society, have zero, unless they're really put against the fence to answer the question, the difference between need and want.
Yeah.
Why need all? No. You need food, air, and water. You want every other fucking thing in your life, and that's a choice. And that's fine as long as you recognize it as that. But the number of people that'll tell you what their needs are that truly don't understand that those don't have anything to do with need, it's staggering.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from doing it as long as I have now is, if you're comfortable in your own skin, it's super easy. If you're not, you'll be miserable as shit.
Yeah.
And there is no amount of happiness you can get from the world that you can't give yourself if you're comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
And I think Clint Eastwood said it best in The Enforcer. A man's got to know his limitations. And there's a million memes along that vein. The problem is most people take that and they just choose the positive side of shit. They're never willing to embrace the negative side of knowing your limitations. And I think that's the biggest problem with most people. My best friend from college, he saved for, I think he put money away for 3 or 4 or 5 years. He saved close to $100,000. So that, because he'd watch me, he's like, dude, are you still? Like, yeah, I fucking love it. I drive through, hey, I'm coming into town, let's go play golf. And he's like, are you doing? I'm like, I do what the fuck I want to do when I want to do it. What are you doing right now? Playing golf with you. That's it. He's like, I'm going to do that. So he did. To his credit, he saved a lot of money so he could quit for a year and wander. He went to Europe, and he's a social butterfly, personality-wise, whereas I'm not. And went to Europe, and he did a religious pilgrimage in Spain, and he had a fucking ton of, and he's posting on social media, and he's having a blast. And we're talking periodically. He goes from Europe to Australia, and he drives out to Ayers Rock. No cell signal, no people, nobody he knows. He's out there for 4 or 5 days. He drives back to where he gets a signal. He calls me. Like, dude, I think I'm about done. What happened? It's like, I didn't know what day it was when I got up today. Like, fuck, that's kind of the goal. Like, what difference does it make what day it is? Like, that's a very human societal construct, time and days and all of that shit. And, weekend versus weekday. It's a very human thing. So that's kind of the goal. He's like, I don't like it. So I'm going to go to, so I think he flew into Sydney, drove up to Ayers Rock, went back to Sydney, and then he had some shit that he had planned in Perth. He went and did that, and then he went back home and went back to work. And he's happier, but to his credit, at least he tried it.
Yeah.
Because many people fucking run their mouths, and they're never even willing to step out the door and give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, that's the biggest part of it, is knowing not just your limitations, but like what you're going to be happiest doing.
Yeah.
And I will say for me, a lot of times, especially in the first 10 years, in the last couple of years, things have kind of balanced out quite a bit. And that's something that you hear a lot of people talk about, how important balance is, and on one side, and then, the other side is fucking grind it out and there is no balance. But, to me, that, like, the big picture is like from 0 to 50. No, there's no fucking balance. Like when you're building your own business, when you're, I'm not going to use the word empire, but just when you're doing your own fucking thing and you're not working for somebody else, whatever that is, a business, getting it from inception to that halfway point or around 50, whatever, is a motherfucker.
It is. Well, it's the people that are like, man, you're lucky. You've got all your lucky.
Oh, it must be nice.
Any fucking idea what I put up with to get where I am right now? Go fuck yourself, lucky.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the meme that you see of the tip of the iceberg versus,
Exactly.
90% of it's underwater is that, you didn't notice anything until...
You're a white man in America. You've got everything handed to you. You fucking lucky prick.
And I forgot.
I know, yeah, me too. Yeah. I forget that all the time.
Yeah, but... no, but, anyway, my point is that, once you get to that point, then yes, you can balance things out, and that's kind of...
And then you can start making bigger decisions for you.
Yeah, and start to enjoy stuff. My point is that, in that first... However long that is, for some people it's a couple of years, for some people it's a decade, it's going to vary, but balance is kind of impossible. And like even trying to take a vacation, like I wouldn't have enjoyed it. Now I can.
Right, because you'd been so worked up about fuck, what's not happening while I'm not there watching everybody.
Yeah, like what's not being handled, what if this happened, and so, yeah, I mean, once you get to a point where, one, you're just used to handling things, and you've put things and people and places to handle
that
things
you can
for
trust.
you. Yeah, that you just get to a certain point where it's like, okay, that's this entity is on its own. Like you've got these separate little piles, if you will, of things that are going on, and they're all synergistically connected, but they're independent enough to where they're not completely reliant on one another. That you can actually get to that point. And so, I think for most people, is that the daunting idea of that is too much.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to fucking do that.
OBE, overcome by events. Well, and then there's the other side of that is being a one-man show with the knife thing was a conscious choice.
Yeah.
Because I've had a number of people, yourself included, that gave me a mountain of fucking quality guidance to hire and grow. And the more I considered that, knowing most of my business dealings with all of my stuff is through small businesses as best as I can manage.
Yeah.
I try to do as much business with the small mom and pop as I can. Mm-hmm. All of those businesses have, 1 to 10 employees. Every one of them has the exact same issue. Now, one guy they can depend on and a whole fleet of fucking people they're dealing with their drama and their bullshit on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
And I just, two things, I didn't want to deal with that because I don't like most people to begin with. And my shop is on my brother's property.
Yeah.
So it kind of fenced me. I can't just willy-nilly have people running in and out of my brother's place.
Yeah.
That's not the right thing to do. It's his, it's not mine.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I have 3 times the investment in the property that he has.
Yeah.
But it's still his. His name's on the title. That's his shit. And he allowed me to use his stuff. So that combined with not wanting to employ somebody and deal with somebody's bullshit on a day-to-day basis, employee-wise, led me to, I'll just be a one-man show.
Yeah.
And I'll get efficient enough with what I can do to do it at my pace. And I've got no problem telling somebody no.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to do it. I don't want to make a knife for you. You're a cunt.
Yeah.
I don't like you.
Well,
I don't like the attitude that you just came at me with. Go fuck yourself. No.
Well, and I think, that whole growing thing, I mean, we've talked about it, but I know where you stand, which is why I'm not here to push anything.
Right. No.
I'm happy to help if you want it. But, and I think, that lifestyle on the surface seems attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah.
When you really get down to it, it's not for most people.
It's not. It's definitely not. And that's exactly it. It has that romanticism of a fucking good novel appeal. But when you start looking at, like, I've been on the road for this trip. I've been on the road for just over a month. I've had, I took a shower at your place last night, so I've had 4 showers. I'm not a fucking vagabond. I'm not destitute. I carry a pump sprayer in the truck. Like, I do showers. I mean, like, I've been in a fucking place with hot water and fucking water flow.
Yeah.
I take fucking field showers, military shit, and it's, fucking run around Iraq taking baths out of ammo cans.
Yeah, no, it's fucking terrible.
But again, a choice.
Yeah.
Okay, I could go and pay to stay in a hotel, so nobody will buy a used bed, but they'll pay hundreds of dollars a night to sleep in a used bed.
Well, not just used. I mean, there's a big difference between one person using it for a few years and thousands of people.
It's amazing to me what people are willing to accept.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not giving you $130 to sleep in a used bed tonight. I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. oh, there's a field right over there. Nobody will fuck with me. I can pump my sprayer up. I can warm some water if it's really cold out. I got a camp stove. I can warm some water up and put it in my pump sprayer.
Yeah.
I can shave and wash my vital organs and go back to work. I'm good to go.
It's awesome. I
mean, shit in a hole in the ground and fucking, I'm off and running. And it's, I don't know, it's simple.
Yeah.
It is. It's super simple.
Is there any thought or desire to share that with anybody? Like if you if you found a woman that was truly on board, not,
hypothetically, let's say,
I mean, like actually on board, which let's be honest, like most of them wouldn't be, but
right.
But provided you found one that, like, would you want to share that with someone?
In small portions, being on the road, being by myself a lot, I've had this question a lot. Aren't you lonely? Like, no, I'm alone. Never lonely. Like, I'm the best company in the world, and I've got a dog with me 99% of the time. So no, I'm never lonely. I'm alone a lot, and I like it. There's no, that relationship give and take. I know that it exists. I know people that have beautiful give and take relationships. I don't know that I'm wired for that.
Yeah,
I really don't. Like, right circumstances, I may just be able to push that right in my face and go, oh yeah, I was fucking wrong. But I have yet to meet somebody that I'd be willing to share the way I live with at that level, because I just don't think that exists.
Yeah.
And it might. I mean, I know there's a ton of people, the van life people and the social media, but the vast majority of those are doing that for likes and for attention.
Yeah.
So they're not, I do it because I want to, and you don't hear from me much about it. Mm-hmm. They're doing it because they want a following and they want somebody to applaud the choices they've made. It's not unlike the green fucking life people or the vegan that can't shut the fuck up or whatever it is. Okay, you do you. Yeah. Why does somebody have to applaud every single thing that you do?
Yeah, well, I think that's an element to it, but I honestly think for most of the folks that do that, it's about. It's the monetary backing.
Yeah, there is that as well.
I mean, you put it on
to find
YouTube,
a way to monetize it so that they can do it and afford to do it.
Yeah, because I mean, if you create enjoyable, entertaining content, put it on YouTube and Instagram, like you can. I mean, some of those people are probably making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That fuels that. And
I'm fortunate that I have some disability money and I make enough money with knives. I don't need a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I do make some money. Fortunate. I mean, I gave up the best, healthiest years of my life to have a little bit of money right now.
Yeah.
And that only lasts as long as the government continues to function, which every fucking year this time is a big mystery.
Yeah, no shit.
But they never stop getting paid, but yours and mine might go away.
I know it.
How convenient. So because I don't have that monetary, I'm not supporting another thing, because a lot of people that are doing the van life thing also have a house somewhere that they're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
So
from a road trip standpoint, are there, again, kind of the expectation versus reality, what is your take on the country? Like, different parts of it being different culturally, it's all the same. It just depends, like what's your takeaways from our society?
Studies say that 65% of America is obese. I would suggest it's better than 90. You're not talking about that already.
Anything.
So
just your observations from spending the amount of time you spent on the road gives you a very unique perspective that almost nobody has.
Right. Well, and I talk to people regularly about how many states have you been in. Like, my goal is all 50, and I've got Alaska left to tick off now.
Yeah.
It's not common. I don't meet very many people. In 15 years, I bet I've met maybe 10 people that have seen all 50 states.
Yeah.
And I mean seen, like, not just flown through, but actually driven through and done something in. And I've now camped, played golf, and fucked off in 49 of 50.
Yeah.
And I think they're all the same in one regard, and I think this is true globally as well. Most people want to take care of themselves, their families, and their friends, and be left the fuck alone by their governments. That's true all over we traveled a fuck ton of foreign countries together. That's true everywhere. But every state has a unique, feel, vibe. It's interesting that it's the United States, but there's a lot of differences. And there's really big differences between east of Mississippi, west of Mississippi. And then the states on either side of that, there's unique differences per. But there's cool shit, and fuck, there's almost every climate in every state. Even states that have virtually no elevation have, mountainous regions. Their mountains may be 12 or 1,500 or, 3,000 feet versus 10, 15,000 feet, but there's still mountains for that area, and they still have those climates, coniferous forests, the whole 9 yards. So it's cool. The East Coast, I find the East Coast forests to be almost claustrophobic to me because they're so dense, dark, and quiet. Whereas on the West Coast, if you go into the mountains, you can almost always find a spot where you can see forever. I just spent 3.5 weeks in Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and I could never see more than a mile anywhere. It's weird. I finally got down into the plains coming across Ohio into Kentucky. I'm like, holy shit, I can see more than 3 miles.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, yeah, as of this summer, I've been to all 50 states.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Fuck you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Beat you to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well played. Yeah, Alaska's my last. That's when the bus is done, I'm going to drive up the Yukon Highway.
Yeah.
I met a Mountie in Missouri on my way to the East Coast this trip. Retired Canadian Mountie. He's like, you should come through Alberta. Come through my place. I'll give you a local, and then you can go up the Yukon Highway from there. It's perfect.
Oh shit.
Like really? Yeah. He was living with his wife in a fucking RV.
That's awesome. I guess from like, again, kind of going back to all the different places, what are some of the biggest differences that you see state to state or coast to coast, or kind of where people miss the mark or get it wrong?
How do you mean?
Like their perception.
What somebody thinks a place is versus what it actually is. I don't know that there's a ton of miss. It's I was a kid. My cousin lived in Jersey, and he brought a girlfriend home from Jersey to New Mexico, and she got off of the plane in Albuquerque expecting to see teepees and wagons, and like, you're a high school graduate, right? Well, I just thought the West was
Holy shit.
wow. This was in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
But damn.
Yeah. I mean, I guess from you traveling around, I mean, maybe not even so much what people would think versus what it is, but just, culturally, I guess, where do you see the biggest differences?
I think the biggest differences are not so much state to state; they're rural versus
Urban.
Yeah, the urban centers in pretty much every state have the same impatient. Everything has to be right now. Nobody's got any time for anything. Driven human drive. And the more rural you get, the more relaxed everybody seems to become, particularly the locals. Food is good most places. I had an uncle when I was a kid gave me this advice because I'd travel with him hunt and shit. And he's like, how do you decide where to eat in a place you've never been? He says, well, you wait until mealtime. You see where all the local vehicles are parked. If the local vehicles are there, the food's good there because they don't go to places that don't treat them well. That's served me really well. But knowing that and knowing that you're going to get good food, that good food has a different flair in every state. Like Kentucky, I don't care for the food there at all. It's all just greasy. It's not that it's bad. It's just prepared different. I spent 3 days in Kentucky. I wasn't happy the whole time.
Like fried fucking...
Yeah, I couldn't get anything just grilled. I couldn't get anything, like, I just want a steak. And I'd get a steak that had been slopped in, like, what the fuck? Like, don't do that. Stop putting gravy on everything. It doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Make it right, and it doesn't need gravy.
Yeah.
But I think, probably the pace is the biggest difference. But it's more city to country than it is state to state.
And is it safe to say that politically that's the case too, or the politics, urban versus rural?
Yeah, absolutely. Consistent? Yeah, and I think that's the biggest reason why whoever it was, and I should probably know this, but I don't. The Electoral College was put together to be representative of the country, as opposed to just the 7 metropolitan areas that have the population to carry the vote every 4 years if they didn't have it. Mm-hmm. I think that system could be better if a state didn't divide on party lines and they divided by actual math, by the map. You know, say California, I think California has, I think it's like 44 electoral college votes, some shit like that, the state.
I think it's over 100.
It's a lot. Whatever the fuck it is, it's big.
Zach, can you look that up real quick?
Yeah, please, because I should know, but I don't. But
we
should know it's big. So California has this huge electoral college vote, but when they do the voting, there's a lot of California that votes super red.
Yeah.
Because they're farmers and producers. They're the people that feed the fucking morons that don't know where their food comes from. Mm-hmm. But when the state is tabulated, they just give all the votes to either red or blue.
Yeah.
That's not how that system was designed to be used. If it was used properly, the counties that did blue would get blue, and the counties that got red would get red, and you'd get a better use of that electoral college system. Mm-hmm. But again, I think there's a ton of that type of stuff in politics that doesn't get used the way it was intended because it gets manipulated for the people in power to maintain power.
Yeah.
Which is too bad.
Yeah.
How many?
In California, 55.
55. Okay, so I was close.
You were closer.
I was closer.
Than me,
I was closer without overbidding.
Yeah.
I get the dryer, Bob.
A new car. Any other lessons that you take away from that amount of time of being on the road that again, just kind of from a different perspective than most people would have?
I touched on it before, and I'll say it again because I think it's that important. Being comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why you and I are friends, I mean, among the many, is that neither one of us is hung up on, I haven't talked to you in a month or 2 months or 7 months or whatever the fuck. There's so many people that put so much emotion behind consistent, hey, you didn't call me. How come you don't call me? How come we haven't talked? And they're bitter about it. And then they make the whole relationship bitter because of that. Because they're not comfortable in their own skin. They're not comfortable enough to just be okay with, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. What's going on? This is what I got going on. Oh, cool. Fucking great. See you when I see you.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's enough people that have that. And I think it stems from that indoctrinized, everybody's the same structural mentality from the Department of Education.
Yeah. I
Yeah, we're all the same. The fuck we are. I am not equal to another fucking soul on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm similar to some in some ways, but I'm not equal to anybody.
Yeah. Do you have a least favorite place and a favorite place that you've been?
I have two least favorites, and they're both because of traffic and population, and that's the LA Basin and New York City. And favorites, Northwest Montana. There's something about that area of the country that just fucking sings to me.
Yeah.
There's a lake up there called Lake Koocanusa. It's, I don't know, some 80 miles long. It runs from, it's a real narrow ravine. It was dammed off on the American side. I think there's about 40 miles of lake on either side, but it's not, I don't think it's more than a mile wide anywhere. But it's really a deep ravine. They just dammed off a ravine. And that lake, there's places up there, there's not a signal for 10 miles in any direction. And I actually got caught in a bad rainstorm up there one year, and I was fucking with my computer in the back of the truck and fell asleep and killed my batteries. And I was stuck there for 15 days.
Oh, shit.
Because my truck wouldn't start on heavy batteries.
Oh, wow.
It was a 2-mile hike to the highway from where I was. But I was on the lake, and I had a trot line set, so I was feeding the dog with a trot line fish. And I had all the food I needed, so I just fucking...
What were you eating?
I had an ice chest full of food, and I had fish.
Oh, okay.
So I wake up one morning, I'm 15 days in. There's a Border Patrol agent sitting at the back of my truck. Little short Mexican guy with his truck cowboy hat. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? He goes, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, my batteries are dead. I can't go anywhere. But what are you doing here? He goes, Border Patrol. I'm like, right, we're in America. So I'm like 38 miles from the Canadian border. He's like, we guard the other one too. I'm like, yeah, but you're from Texas, aren't you? He goes, yeah, I'm actually from San Antonio. What the fuck are you doing up here? So long conversation, and he gives me a jump start and gets me. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking great. Weather cleared. I'm fucking camping, swimming, hanging out, hiking. Yeah. No drama whatsoever. He's like, do you want a jump start? I'm like, yeah, since you're here.
Yeah.
But he was just baffled that I wasn't, oh my God, thank you for saving my life. I didn't need any saving. I didn't need anything. I had everything I needed.
That's fucking wild, man. Any other fucking shit like that happen? Like, you got to have some fucking wild stories.
I get random shit like that periodically. Every now and then I get a weird, like, what's that, deliverance vibe in an area. Like, I'll drive through a local area and I'll be like, I'm not camping anywhere near here tonight.
Spidey sense.
Yeah. Well, and there's an analogy that came out of one of my philosophy classes in college. It's a graveyard shift nurse. She works graveyard for like 13 years. She works graveyard. She gets off at 3 a.m. She walks out to her car, gets in her car, goes home. She's done this for 13 years. One night she's changing her clothes and she thinks, I should get somebody to walk me out. And she doesn't. 2 weeks later, they find her dead in a ditch. It's an analogy to suggest that maybe we're getting too far from instinct. I trust my instincts. If I get a weird vibe about something, I fucking listen to that shit. Gut feeling, sixth sense, whatever you want to call it. I pay attention to that shit. So yeah, if I'm uncomfortable, I make changes to make myself more comfortable. But by and large, now I've had a number of issues like, breakdowns or in the middle of nowhere and somebody will show up like, hey, I'm fucked. Can you help me? I don't know. What do you need?
Yeah.
Maybe I can help.
Maybe I don't want to help.
I don't know.
Maybe I do.
What's in it for me?
I know you've had, I don't know how many fucking, I guess, examples or instances where you're in a Walmart parking lot and a cop shows up. You can't fucking sleep here. Like, I don't know how many fucking times that's happened, but
way more than fucking should.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's infuriating. It's the same with like national parks and state parks. I'm back to the bitterness of the system and how the system is mismanaged. I pay fuel tax everywhere I buy fuel. Fuel tax is supposed to be to do road maintenance, but the roads aren't maintained. And then I go to a state park or a national park and they want money from my pocket, despite the fact that I've already paid taxes on all of my money and they're funded by the government. It's a real sticking point for me, that sense of civic authority that comes from nothing more than wanting to harass somebody. Like, if I'm fucking your shit up, pull the plug on me. And I think that should be done anywhere where these little, California's a huge cesspool of that, where they're just walking all over and local administrations won't do anything about it. That should be fixed. But if I'm sleeping in my vehicle in a parking lot that's public, why do you want to fuck with me? Well, shit, that happened up in Paris when we were still getting you settled at the dog ranch. Fucking cop, I'm in a local neighborhood, on the curb, parked right where all the other cars are. Yeah. Older cop with a kid with him, recruit, teaching him how to handle people. Like, dude, why are you acting like this? You're teaching that kid bad habits, right?
Yeah. Well, it is. It's interesting, hearing you speak to that and thinking about it in that regard, and that, like, there's so many things that it's just like, just fucking let it happen. No, there's nothing we can do about it. Right. Fucking smash and grab at jewelry stores, fucking homeless encampments. It's like, no, you can't fuck with them.
It strikes me the people that they go after is the ones they think can pay.
Yeah.
That's what it strikes me as. A buddy of mine in Albuquerque, we have the same conversation. You see this fucking, without question, meth, whatever the fuck, addict driving a vehicle with a caved in windshield and no fucking turn signals. That fucking human will never get pulled over by the cops because there's no revenue stream there. But if I fail to signal to change lanes, I get pulled over and get a ticket because I look like I've got some money and I can pay.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that all about? Well, Mount Washington in New Hampshire. I wanted to drive up Mount Washington. It's the highest point in New Hampshire. Fucking cool. I'm going to drive up the top of Mount Washington. Happens to be 300 feet lower than where my brother's place is, which is nuts. Mountains, old mountains versus new mountains. It's like 6,200 feet. So I want to drive up this mountain. It's a state and nationally funded park. Mm-hmm. They want $45 of my money to drive up that paved road. For what? Nope. That shit frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest frustration traveling is, and I've got the parks pass, the Veterans Parks Pass. So like national parks, I can access, like I can go into Yellowstone without paying a gate fee, but I can't camp in Yellowstone. Although I have. Yeah. I get hemmed up by by a ranger last fall. On my last fall's road trip, I was driving across to come down through Colorado back to New Mexico, and I drove into the park thinking I'm going to find a remote spot. There's no remote because it's a national park, and I think it's the oldest national park in America. I think it's the first national park. But you can't camp. You can't just free open land camp anywhere in the park. You have to pay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's like $55 a site.
Yeah.
And you have to secure it. I think it's like 9 or 14 months out. It's a big, long to plan out. So I'm driving by all these lake access roads, and I see one, there's no sign posted for no camping. So I drive in there and I camp. Hike down the water, if I can hang out with the dog. The next morning, I'm just finished making my coffee and putting everything in the truck. I'm getting ready to pull out. Park ranger pulls in. Gets out of his truck. Like, good morning. He says, good morning. He says, he's looking at my truck. He's looking at, because I'm leveled out on a hunk of wood. He says, did you camp here? I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, well, I already did it. So that ship has sailed. So how do you want to continue this conversation? And but you're not allowed. Like, well, there's no signs. Well, there's 2 accesses to where I came in. The one I came in on, the sign was gone. The one he came in on, there was a sign. It's like, I was like, when you drive out, look, there's no sign. He's like, but you're not allowed. I'm like, okay, again, I already did it.
Yeah.
I said, if you'd have pulled in here in 10 minutes, you wouldn't even have known I was here because I'm getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
So so he walks around my truck and he sees the hunk of wood. He's like, well, did you cut that? I'm like, no, you guys did see, there's the pile right there. I just pulled from the pile. When I pull off of them, throw it back in the pile. Like, you're never going to know I was here. So all the rules that you're trying to force on me aren't for me. They're for the assholes that can't clean up after themselves, which, again, is another pet peeve traveling. I cannot get anywhere where somebody hasn't left fucking garbage. That shit infuriates me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Because people are fucking pigs and they don't clean up after themselves, and it's irritating.
Yeah.
And because of that, then I'm hemmed in by all these supposed laws that aren't really changing people's behavior. You catch somebody littering, fucking make them pick up trash for 12 hours. Sorry, you can't leave until you pick up all the trash. Well, it's not all mine. Too bad. I caught you doing it. You're picking it all up.
Yeah.
That teaches a lesson. You're familiar with the shopping cart rule for self-governments?
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just brilliant. Mm-hmm. Because truly there's no social repercussions from not putting your cart where it belongs in a parking lot. It's simply doing the right thing for the right reason. So if you do the right thing for the right reason, no matter who's looking, you're capable of self-governance.
Yeah.
Everybody else needs somebody to fucking hold their hand because they're idiots. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting analogy, and I think it's super accurate.
Yeah, no, I agree. So again, kind of reflecting on your time spent on the road, it sounds like we / you have established that most people kind of want the same things: take care of their kids, be successful enough to enjoy life, be left the fuck alone. What do you think again, from having spent so much time in all different parts of the country for longer than, an afternoon, mm-hmm. What do you think the biggest problem that this country has is collectively?
A lack of self-awareness. An imagined view of our place in the grand scheme of things based off of what the narrative is at the time. And I think that's true with any topic. Pick any topic and then watch what mainstream media forces down your throat. And if you do virtually the exact opposite, you're probably doing better than most people, in my opinion.
For example?
Park rules. I don't need them because I don't leave shit behind, and I clean up where I camp. Even if it's not mine, I carry it out and I throw it somewhere in the trash. Look at anything geopolitical. The view of why we're involved in something versus the real reason why we're involved in something. The real reason is always money and political clout. It's never the naive why I went in the military, country and patriotism and doing the right, because as a military member, we're really not doing anything other than forwarding a geopolitical financial move by our government. Every conflict that we've been involved in, it was shit. Even post-World War II, absolutely. Everything we've been involved in post-World War II has had that exact flavor to it. What does it do for us geopolitically and from a money-making standpoint for the big players? Not for the average American, but for the big players.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I would throw one exception in. I think post 9/11 for a short time.
Yes.
That I would disagree, but only for a short time.
It was such a flag, we won't forget. Fucking y'all forgot.
Yeah, quick too.
Yeah, real fucking fast because it was because again, it was inconvenient and choices. What are you willing to? Because Ross Perot, when he ran for president in '96,
I think it was 88.
No, it was '96. It was when I was in college.
Well, it would have been 94 then, right? Or no, yeah,
96. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, I think it was '96. He said on national television the thing that nobody wanted to hear, and I thought it was fucking brilliant. He's like, look, it's a big business and it's fucking broken. Speaking of the government, he said it didn't get broke overnight and it can't be fixed overnight, but it can be fixed, but it requires everybody to participate. And that made most of America very uncomfortable because that means you're going to have to pull back a little bit. They're not even tough. Can I have 7 phones or just 3? I mean, based off of today's money, that's how much social media access can I have? How much internet access can I have? It's a strange motivator, but it's an immediacy thing. We've talked about it. What is the dopamine cycle and the way people are stimulated and rewarded and what that requires and how they behave because of it.
Yeah.
There's a comedian, I think it's Kyle Kinane. He does a bit about my kids don't have TV. And the crowd, boo. He's like, yeah. You go fuck yourselves. And then he says, I'll tell you what. Here's a test for you to see how good TV is for your kids. He says, when your kids are watching TV, just take the remote from behind them where they can't see and just turn the TV off and see what their reaction is. It's always like, do you think that's healthy? Do you really think you're doing your kids a service by doing that? Yeah. But it is. It's an it's George Carlin take on life.
That's the same thing with like smartphones and teenagers at this point. Same thing. I mean,
I can't get my kids off their phone. Yeah. Who the fuck got them the phone?
Yeah, I mean the tough part with that is society. That, I can tell you from experience. Like, you take your kids' phones or don't let them have them. And guess what? Like, unless you're homeschooling them, or at like a super small private charter school where there's a lot of regulation.
And they're all believe the same thing that you believe.
Like if they're going to a big 4A, 5A public school, like,
fucking matter what you do at home. Because you have the least amount of influence on them.
Especially at that point. Like, you have almost none.
Yeah, and it is. It's too bad.
Yeah, because, their friends will let them on theirs. They'll be on their school computers. They'll fucking hijack around.
Some friend's rich dad will buy them a phone and they'll keep it a secret in their locker at school.
They'll get a burner from fucking Walmart. I mean, because at this point, like, you can get a smartphone for $12, some shitty,
you're
LG, whatever.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And so you have to find a place to, I think my mom had a really good balance. I think your parents had a good balance too. Like, I don't need you to be my friend until you're an adult. When you're an adult, we can be friends, but until then, I'm your fucking parent.
Yeah.
And you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to do what my rules are, and I'm going to lead by example as opposed to running my fucking mouth and saying one thing and doing another. And I think there's a lot of parents that are very guilty of that as well.
Yeah, no, agreed. And it is tough. I will say, to me, the smartest play with that is to, kind of similar to, the way that dog training takes place is that it's action and reaction and consequence, it's either reward, so if you're getting good grades, I'm not getting calls about you, there's no problems at school. Like, I'm going to stay out of your shit.
Here's the rules. Do you understand the rules? Okay. Yeah. Then fucking super simple.
Yeah. Like
held to a standard again.
Like if, your room's the way it needs to be, you're not fucking trying to come home at 2 a.m. Like, if you're towing the line, I'm staying out of your business. Like, I won't get in your shit unless I need to. And if I need to, then we'll cross that bridge. But that's, of course, easier said than done. I mean, being a parent is fucking tough.
It is,
especially
no doubt
nowadays. It is incredibly fucking difficult.
And then you got people from the top down that are saying, the state's better capable of raising your kids than you are. That fucking mentality. And it does. Yeah. It's the Good Samaritan Act. Like, they had to write a law for people to help other people when people need help because of people getting help and then suing to try and get money.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's fucking craziness.
Yeah, yep. Anything else to add to the convo from your time on this planet, the short 53 years that it is?
I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. What should I be when I grow up?
I think you found your spot.
I don't think I want to grow up anymore. Being an adult's shit. I know a lot of adults and they're boring as fuck.
I think
they're
you found
boring and miserable.
Your niche. I think you're there.
It's niche.
I don't think it is.
I don't know what that is.
Zach, survey says niche or niche.
Niche.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Sucks to be wrong.
Yeah. I'm not signing his paycheck. Fuck you.
Christ.
Shit.
So where can the listener find you? Especially if and I will say, guys, for everybody listening, I've shown knives that he's made on multiple occasions on the show. We had him and Clint on a couple of years ago that showcased the Glenn Doherty knife that had some of his ashes and uniform built into the handle.
Yeah.
He's made, and we'll on the YouTube side we'll show some of his custom pieces right now that he's made. One in particular, the latest one was the parrot feather.
Commemorative for a family that had a parrot that died.
Yeah.
And it was really dear to the son. So I did parrot feathers, the parrot's feathers inlaid into the handle and the mounting block for the knife.
Yeah, and we'll show pictures of that too. But any custom pieces like that, I mean, you can do, take the wood from a barn door that on a property that you grew up with and make the handle out of that type of stuff, or ashes from loved ones, pets, etc. Even teeth from pets.
Right.
You name it.
I've done hair.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I've forged ashes into a forged smelt.
Oh,
so
nice.
my own pet peeve in the knife world, Damascus doesn't exist. I'm gonna piss off a lot of custom knife makers right now, but whatever. I'm not near the pinnacle of the knife making game. I'm good at what I do, and I make a quality blade that will perform admirably for generations if it's taken care of. Now that said, the Damascus world, forged welded steel, pattern welded steel is what it is now. Damascus steel came out of a specific volcanic ore in Syria in, like 900 AD. And it met a requirement of the time. It had hardness and toughness, whereas the steels of the time, the iron ores of the time, didn't have both of those things by and large. What you're buying now with Damascus is pattern welded tool steel, and they're beautiful. I take nothing from the guys that do it. I've tried it. I can't see, my brain doesn't wrap around the 3D packaging of folding steel to get a specific pattern. And there is some beautiful shit out there, but it's pattern welded steel from two quality current modern tool steels.
Yeah.
So it's not Damascus. It's a misnomer. But I don't do a lot of that because I think it's a misnomer, and it's very time intensive and it's worth the money, but you're buying art. You're not buying performance at that point. It's artistic. The performance is in either steel, they pattern weld them together, and then you're buying art.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy doing commemorative pieces because they mean something to the customer, which makes them mean something to me.
Yeah.
And it started with doing ashes for Bub.
Yeah.
Because Glenn was such an impactful person on so many people's lives when it was, I was fucking just kicking off getting good at making knives. I mean, that was one of my first pieces with acrylic, and it came out so nice to me. I feel really, really involved in that piece because it was somebody I knew.
Yeah.
And if I can give that to somebody else, I'm always willing to incorporate that.
No, agreed. I mean, you've made me a ton of fucking knives over the years.
I made some shit for you that I never even thought about making. You're like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, oh, fucking give me a picture of something what you're looking at and let me play around with it.
No, but I mean, those are knives that I'll cherish and pass on to the kids, and it'll stay in the family for generations. So I think it's awesome. And we'll include links to Shane's site and where you can find him and all that. Anything else you want to throw in there before we wrap up?
Everybody should stop eating processed shit and get healthier.
That's it?
Well, I mean, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big statement. I mean, everybody should do that.
No, I agree. But, even though we've known each other forever, I still have a parting gift for you. Not that
Of course.
Not that it's a huge surprise, but
Of course you do.
everybody on the show that's been on Mic Drop gets.
Do you have your own coin now? I didn't know you had that. Oh,
This
shit,
is-
I can't see that. Oh, look at that.
Holy Christ!
You shut up. I'm going to put on my racquetball glasses for safety.
You got a big game coming up, buddy?
I can't see. Fuck you. That's cool. When did you start doing these?
So John Johnston and Champion Choice Silver out in California, big supporter of the show,
Oh, yeah.
had these made as well as what's
That
in
is
that black box.
Fucking awesome. That's a really nice coin.
Yeah.
I noticed your coin rack. You're going to need another coin rack before too long.
Yeah,
aren't you?
so actually, Veteran Wood Company is making me a new one as we speak that will be a lot bigger and be able to accommodate more coins because, yes, it's almost full. But
Yeah.
and then what's in the box?
What's in the box? Ah, sweet.
Yeah.
The buckles. Yeah, I know the buckles.
So
This
again,
is the same guy that did my buckle.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to show that to the camera real quick.
Yeah, the mic drop buckle.
So throw that on your pants when you sport the shit kickers.
I'm not gonna wear that. I wear a regular buckle. That's too cowboy for me. I'm not a cowboy.
Maybe you should fashion it as a hood ornament for the rig. Now that would be cool. We'll get some pictures
Maybe I'll
of that.
fashion it into something so it'll be protected and put it on a bus.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll put that on a bus.
For those of you listening, Shane has been an enormous part of my life for well over 2 decades, 2.5 decades.
Yeah.
I really can very honestly say that I owe a lot to you. From having grown up kind of in the SEAL teams as an 18, 19-year-old, meeting you and becoming really close friends with you and a very small group of other guys. You've been a huge influence in my life for a lot of it. I appreciate our friendship and
that goes both ways. Like I said, I wasn't joking earlier when I asked, who's influenced who more. I think early on I was more influencer, but as we've moved out of the military, you've done infinitely more than most people are even capable of. And it's I love watching you do shit and do it well.
I appreciate it.
I do, and your dog work is next level. I know how it works, but I don't have the patience to make it work that way. I'm such a shitty dog owner in that particular regard.
Well, there's still hope.
Yeah, well,
Still got time.
I recognize that as a failing of mine. That doesn't mean I'm going to fix it, but I recognize it.
The man's got to know his limitations.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
But I appreciate you coming. I appreciate
thanks
our
for having
friendship.
me. Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
everything you've ever done for me and my family. So
Another 50 years wouldn't be untowards at all for me.
that's right.
As long as neither one of us are senile, and if that happens, one of us needs to push the other one off of something really tall, really quickly.
I could not agree more. So
Done.
You have my word. I'll throw you right off a fucking
Bargain
bridge.
struck.
All right. To the listener, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been fun to be able to interview Shane the way that I do most guests. A little tricky with what I already know about him, but I hope you gathered the character and what I love so much about him and why he's one of the closest friends I've ever had. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, fucking choke yourself. And until next time, this is Mic Drop.